Good day and welcome to Jnn Insight. I'm your host, Michael Sharp. On this program, we bring you insight into those matters impacting our country, and we bring you the story behind the story. Today, we have a real story. We're talking with Mr. Nigel Holness of the CIBC First Caribbean International Bank. Welcome, Mr. Holness.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to be dealing a lot with what people might consider non-banking ideas. But the journalist in me says that I can't catch, the MD of CIBC First Caribbean and not ask him a couple of questions germane to banking itself. One of them is the recent tabling in Parliament of a bill that's supposed to make the BOJ a little more autonomous, a little more. What say you? What is your reaction to that?
I would say I support it wholeheartedly, the industry in particular. It's modernizing our financial sector, and it's just simply aligning with where the global markets are going. So I think it's the right move to have the central bank independent of political interference, and so they can chart a proper course to manage their core mandate, which is inflation. So fiscal responsibility lies with the Ministry of Finance. Monetary policies now would lie with the Central Bank of Jamaica. And so we do believe it's the right move, right timing, based on where we're at in our sojourn.
Are we matured enough as a country, you think, to go that route, or do you still think that the politicians would want to meddle?
Well, once you pass the legislation, then it gives the central bank that independence. I think the only way they can meddle is really when they have him before them in Parliament to try to influence. I would say if you look at the situation in the US, the Fed sets the course for interest rates. And here you have a president making utterances to say, well, he's not supportive, but he cannot change it. And that's what you bring with an independent central bank, where the central government sets the pace and the course for financial prudence or financial stability, but the central bank now executes.
Another topic that I can't help but coming to you on is from the days of wanting to smoke it in Buckingham Palace to the rarefied air of Canada.
Yes.
And my research tells me that First Caribbean is as a connection to Canada.
Yes.
Yes.
Our parent company, CIBC, basically is a Canadian bank, and so we are owned by a Canadian bank. So our DNA really comes from Canada, but we are a regional bank, independent of CIBC, but managed obviously with close policies, guidelines as to how we operate from out of our parent company.
And thus, the question.
The question.
Ganja business can't seem to move in Jamaica. The banking sector not aligning itself with the growers and those who want to get into medicinal marijuana, medicinal ganja, whatever name you pick. Why is it not easy, especially if you have that Canadian DNA?
Yeah.
Why is it not easy to go and say, well, all right, guys, you want to do this thing? Canada's freed up this thing. Come, let's move. What's the hitch?
I think the biggest problem for us is the fact that we rely on what we call correspondent banking to facilitate banking to facilitate settlement,
yes,
in particular US dollars. The Federal Reserve still has a hold on the banks which provide that service to the Caribbean banks, in particular Jamaican banks in our situation. So despite what Canada might do, because US is typically the currency that is base for most countries internationally, then we have to go through the US settlement system. If you start to dabble in the cannabis industry, whether it is medical marijuana, whatever it is, then you could run into a serious problem with finding a correspondent bank who would want to continue providing that service. So it's not that the banks would not want to facilitate, but obviously we have to be mindful of the bigger impact that could have on our country, in that we could see the exit of the correspondent banking relationship, which basically would render our ability to trade and just to conduct international business closed. That door would be closed.
Help us understand it for the man on the corner. You speak of corresponding bank. When you send the money, it doesn't go like straight to Canada? Help us, what's a route like? Give us a typical.
Typically what happens is that settlement is, you have settlement banks, they're correspondent banks. So a transaction is done in Jamaica, it goes through the settlement system. Swift payments, things of that nature. So a wire payment, for example, is routed through the U.S. system, and therefore it touches that correspondent bank who has to now give account as to where the source of funds is, who is behind this transaction. And so once you have a company that is involved in this activity, it's a red flag. So typically we talk about counter-financing and terrorism. You find that in the past, quite a lot of companies would be dabbling in these kind of activities that facilitate. And so we have to now do what we call enhanced due diligence, and it's very costly. Also, it requires quite a lot of work on the other side, which is the customer side, to provide information. Sometimes it's so onerous that it's not worth it because the profit on that is just not there.
Not worth it.
No.
The banks, while wanting to be a part of a growing thing,
absolutely
limited by what's the recourse? What I mean, what's the punishment if you
it's
should
huge.
do this?
It's huge. It's huge. As a matter of fact, apart from just simply being the correspondent bank closing their doors to us, facilitating those services, you could actually find yourself in a situation where a customer who unfortunately is using the system for illicit means then get captured in their net. And we who would have facilitated that customer are the bank really on the hook. The penalties and the fines are enormous, and it could easily wipe an institution off the face of this earth. You talk about $1 billion, US dollars that is. Are we as capitalized to withhold or withstand such a dramatic fine penalty charge? Not to mention the reputation damage that could create, not just for the institution, but for the country. So, you see, we have to look at it on a holistic basis, so to speak.
Give me a little insider. Is there a softening, you think, towards this type of...
I think there is a softening, but we have to actually wait on the U.S. government, the Fed, to themselves say, well, we will facilitate this, obviously with certain governance structures in place. But until that happens, we're going to...
Can't play ball.
We just simply can't.
Can't play ball.
Yeah.
There is a feeling that your bank is big in Jamaica. I suspect it is. Where does...
We're fifth. We're the fifth largest bank by asset size in Jamaica. A lot of people don't realize, but we've been here from 1921. Yes.
Slightly ahead of
me. Yeah, and we've been in this space very much supporting growth and development. From 1921, actually, the origin of the bank came through the sugar and rum trade with Canada and saltfish, codfish.
Yes.
And so CIBC, then Halifax branch, opened a sub-agent at the now Burger King downtown, that location, and we grew from there. And so we established our footprint right across the Caribbean in Barbados. We actually were in Cuba at one stage. Yes, but unfortunate situations.
And it's
change.
Interesting. You go to Cuba, and there's a lot of Canadians.
Correct.
In Cuba. Yeah. I mean, so there's still that linkage.
There's still a lot of linkage there.
That goes by.
Yeah.
There is something that is undisputed in terms of what you do. Mm-hmm. You call it CSR.
CSR.
Correct. And, this vegetable soup type of thing, where you have all the A and the B's and the C's. What does that mean?
Corporate social responsibility.
All right.
So
that's what I want to deal with you this morning, having gotten some of the banking things out of the way. Because people don't associate, that's the image that you have, banks have, not just First Caribbean. is that you're just money lending and loans, and you come take back what if your people don't pay and what have you. But there is this social responsibility that you are involved in. I'm going to ask you the toughest question. Are you doing it because of guilt? Are you involved with the social responsibility because you think you have taken so much from the people that you must give back a little pittance? Straighten me out.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Any corporate social responsibility program, for it to be successful, has to be certainly welcomed, embraced by leadership. And I think based on my background and the background of our bank, we take it serious. We give back to communities, and in a way that is just not just simply handing out a check, but actually physically engaging and being on the ground and engaging with the communities in which we serve. So yes, we're a profitable institution, but we carve out a part of that profit simply to go back into communities and help those communities develop. And we're proud of what we've been doing. Sometimes we don't blow our own trumpet, but the fact is that we do help significantly in many ways to support growth in our community, and not just in Jamaica, but right across the Caribbean. So we're proud of what we do.
Let me give you 3 words, and I want you to respond. It's almost like an essay, right? Enlightened self-interest. Anything wrong with that? Is that what you're doing? And anything wrong with enlightened self-interest?
I don't think that's where we are coming from with our program. I think it's more helping, being that helping hand to those in our communities that need that support. So the key theme for us in terms of our program is youth and education, for example. We talk about community and the environment, health and wellness. And that's more or less where we focus our attention. So it's not about, getting so much recognition for giving a few checks here or there. It's much, much deeper than that.
But can I be a little stickler here?
Yeah.
What, nothing wrong with
There's nothing wrong with it.
Because people want to know and feel
yeah.
that you're out there and you identify with the people and their needs.
That's correct.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate, though, that sometimes media tend to only paint banks in one light.
Yes.
But the fact is that the financial sector in Jamaica, and I'm not just speaking for First Caribbean, but the sector in general, they really give back to communities right across the length and breadth of Jamaica. And we sometimes don't elevate what we do as much as we should, and that might be poor PR support, or it might very well be that our media stations need to do a better job at promoting positive.
Well, I'm happy that we are involved.
Absolutely.
In,
so I commend you.
I
commend you, sir.
Thank you. No, because we can always go there when it comes to the hard news.
Yeah.
That's what we call the hard news. And that's what sells. I hope you appreciate that. But it also takes people who understand that government alone can't do it.
They can't.
And therefore, it is important that we hail and take notice of those who are doing it.
Absolutely.
When we come back, I want to get down into your different areas of commitment and get a further insight into it. So we'll be right back on Insight. Welcome back to Insight. Banking, a different type of banking. What do bankers do with some of their profits? That's what we're into today. And we're hearing that they're in deep, and we want to find out the depth of it. One of the things that our guest, Mr. Nigel Holness of CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, I have to get that right, and I was warned, says that yes, they do assist, the financial sector assists in a lot of ways, and and also CIBC First Caribbean. One of the ones is health and wellness.
Correct.
We associate you, and I notice you're wearing your pink ribbon How are you, and what do you do in that sector, health and wellness?
Okay, so one of our flagship programs currently that we're doing is what we call Walk for the Cure. Walk for the Cure is actually something that's done across our 17 territories in which we operate across the Caribbean, and it's about giving back to cancer. Cancer patients, cancer societies that support the education and health of individuals, counseling, all of those different things. And so every year since 2012, we've had walk and fundraising efforts to give back to the Cancer Society. I think thus far we are in excess of $12.5 million since we started.
12 million kind of dollars.
Jamaican dollars.
Okay, all right.
But what is so important about this is the engagement of our staff. We have all sort of different things that we do just to raise funds for this worthy cause. And we have been really, really passionate about it. Each year we have a walk. This year we concluded that walk at the Emancipation Park at the end of September. Had quite a number of participants, sponsors coming out as well, family members, well-wishers, and just general public who simply supported the cause.
Yes.
And we intend, we haven't stopped our fundraising efforts. We're going to continue because we have a target in mind that we want to set for this year.
And it's a private mind, or?
It's a private mind at this point. It's internal.
Yes.
We set goals for ourselves as to
Yes.
what we want to accomplish so that we can support the Jamaica Cancer Society in their scheme.
One of the things you mentioned a while has not escaped me, and I want to twin it with what I'm about now. Two things I want you to deal with for me. When things come to you, and I'm sure that the bank is bombarded with with people seeking assistance from all walks of life, and that's understandable, and I'm sure you understand that. But you mentioned the passion of the staff volunteers.
Yes.
You can't put a money to that.
No,
Yes,
absolutely
so
not.
I suspect you could say another 12.5 in terms of
It's probably more than that,
yes,
actually.
what they bring to the table. People don't, quantify that. But how do you go about choosing which one?
Okay.
And how do you get that message across to your staff so they can say, well, bloody hell,
Yeah.
this is a good thing. We should go for it.
Okay. Well, that's an easy question to answer. Apart from the flagship programs that I mentioned, Walk for the Cure, we have what we call an Adopt a Cause program.
Adopt a cause.
Adopt a cause. In other words, each unit within our bank, whether it is a finance unit, a branch unit, a support unit, whomever, whatever unit, they have the ability to, within their environment, within their community, seek out, find a cause. And they now put forward a proposal as to what the support they will be providing or want to provide. We assess it, and then we provide the resources. They now will take those resources, and if, for example, they're doing painting of a school or providing some form of support, tangible support, physical support where you have to stretch those muscles, then they would go in and do that work. So they get involved right down to the grassroots level.
Yes. Do you, when you say like the branches and the different units, a branch, let me get a country term,
Yes.
It's community based? Is it?
Very much community based, very much community. So they would look, for example, a basic school, needs are great. I can remember the basic school, they don't have a printer. They don't have proper staff room facilities. They need a fridge. These are basic things that we tend
Little big things.
Little big things.
Yes, yes.
And, but it goes such a far way. And the smile that is on the face of these youngsters when they receive these gifts, it's absolutely amazing. So it's important for the staff, for themselves, because it builds a community spirit, a spirit of giving back to those who are in need. And so that has been ongoing and has been tremendously successful. So it's not just us at the head office that spearhead the corporate larger projects, but right down to the grassroots within our branches, they have the opportunity to identify a cause and support that cause.
Let me go back to some banking techniques.
Yes.
When you mentioned the large corporate ones, that they walk for the cure and what have you, and you raise funds. As one who have been involved in fundraising through television, radio programs at night many moons ago, the issue of protecting that money and ensuring that it goes to the right place. How do you go about doing that? Because there's so many people hanging on. Will want to siphon off and what have you. How do you ensure the integrity of that?
Absolutely. So we partner with other agencies, non-profit organizations, Kiwanis clubs, different clubs. We do a bit of background checks again, and that helps us now to determine if these institutions are worthy of. The fact is also, because it's community-based, and because the staff within those communities know it's also part of the know your customer process, and so it's easier to extend that arm of support to those projects. Typically, we don't necessarily give out cash. It's more tangible methods. So, for example, we partnered with Food for the Poor last 2 years. We built 10 homes last year. This year we did 4. But not only do we partner by providing those homes for worthy, needy Jamaicans, but also the team decided last year, my management team decided we were going to travel way up in some hills to go help to build a house. Now you're talking bankers.
Yeah, look at this gym work.
Exactly. And it was just fun, but it also, when you handed that key over to that individual, it's like, oh my God, I have just impacted someone's life in a tremendous way. You can't put a value to that.
No, not at all.
And so we did that last year. We did it this year again. We built just outside of McCook's Pen 2 homes, again partnering with Food for the Poor. And this time we extended to the staff in general. Tremendous support. And we completed the build out of those homes within a very short space of time. And I was so proud of the team. Each of them, as I said, soft hands. Most of these bankers don't know what it is to get into the weeds.
So not me.
But it just gives you a sense of pride. And soft hearts, absolutely. And that spurs others to come and join the program. And so every year it grows, as people partner with the different units to support these kind of events.
So your core will be health.
Yes, so health and wellness is a big part of it. I talk about community and environment.
Yes, don't go there yet. Don't go there. Because I have to save my favorite one.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
The next one I want to get to you is youth education.
Youth and education.
Help me with that.
Okay,
that warms my heart.
That's huge.
Youth education, whatever.
Only, I think, a month ago, we partnered with the Salvation Army in one of the inner city communities to support a back-to-school program. Over 100 and probably 10 to 12 kids, backpacks, school supplies, those kind of stuff. So as I said before, it's finding a partner that knows a community that helps us to go in and support. Parents were just, oh my God, this is just absolutely amazing. So things like that. We also look at the needs of schools. So if a school needs a projector, then we would, again, facilitate those needs. Canteen, food feeding programs in most of these schools. We support that, breakfast programs. So, of course, a child can have a healthy start to their day. So these things are dear to us, and we continue to do it. And every year, yes, the needs are great out there. And it's very difficult for the committee when they assess. It's overwhelming at times, but we try to spread the love as best as we can.
Another example for you, a couple of words. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living will not be in vain. Absolutely. What does that mean to you?
Well, my living would not be in vain. That means I'm just simply supporting someone to live comfortably, to excel in life, to encourage them that, you know, yes, it might be difficult now, but there is still hope. And providing a roof, providing a chalkboard, providing a computer, providing a chair for you to sit on is insightful enough to give hope.
So does that mean you have to have a double personality? The banker and then the guy who gets dirty with his hands?
Well, the two work hand in hand. You have to know your core business and what you have to do to protect depositors' investments, your fiduciary responsibility. I take that very seriously. But at the same time, you can't be as cold and callous. You have to be considerate and passionate to the needs of the average Jamaican out there. And so I think that's probably what separates us from a number of other entities: the compassion, the love for communities, the love for people, wanting to see people excel, wanting to see people grow and improve their life. And that's what we love.
We're going to take another break and insight, and then we're going to find out where this banker come from. You know, we tend to see them behind and, you know, speaking at us. But today we're going to speak to us. We'll be right back on Insight. Welcome back to Insight. Today we're talking about what bankers do with their profits. And happily we're hearing that it's going into helping a lot of people. And my mantra is, if you can save one person, then I'm good. You're good. But our banker friend here, Mr. Nigel Holness from CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, speaks to leadership. You know, getting the sense that, well, a lot that can be done has to be driven by the leadership. And that's important, I believe. But I want to know from whence he came. So, Mr. Holness, when you were growing up, wherever you were growing up, and you soon tell us that, when they ask you what you want to be when you grow big, what did you tell them?
A fireman.
Fireman? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there used to be a program on TVJ in the earlier days, JBC actually.
Yeah.
Fire Squad 59.
Yes.
I used to enjoy it, and so I used to just drive around or pretend that I was a fireman, and so I loved that. But then again, as I was growing up, I looked at my father. He's a carpenter, and I've gotten those skills from him. And I said to myself that when I retire, actually, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Because, and give back to society, give back to communities. I see, very famous persons, they have their trust funds. I might not have a trust fund, so it's my hand fund that I give back. And so that's important,
Yes.
I think for me, inspiring the youth, part of our corporate social responsibility also is about giving back to the University of the West Indies, so we have scholarships for them and engaging youth in just talking to them one-on-one, having those frank conversation about life and their approach to work. Sometimes we get distracted, and so it's important for them to have a mentor, so to speak, and so that's part of what I do.
Okay, which parish you're from?
I'm from the lovely parish of St. Elizabeth.
Oh, that's the colour thing.
Yeah,
well, from the south side.
Yes.
There you go. You go. You say, remember now, I always tell my friends, I'm brown.
Yeah.
I'm
so you're from St. Elizabeth?
No.
Oh my God.
It's the red people.
Oh, but
but there goes
I'm
shade.
proud of my parish.
There goes Shadism, right? Where in St. Elizabeth?
I'm from Goshen, St. Elizabeth. So that's just after you come out of the wonderful parish of Mandeville, coming down into Valley.
Yes.
So
it's on the left there. Right?
Yes, correct. Yes. Lovely parish, lovely community.
That's the bread basket. I can't
Absolutely.
fight it.
Yes,
I can't fight it.
Yeah.
And we won't. So grew up there as a kid,
Yeah.
went to which school?
Monroe College, actually, and that's where the discipline started.
There's something on the hill, right?
It's a city set up on a hill, cannot be hidden. In art, sit and quiz architect.
That was a paid announcement by
Oh, yes. And I'm proud of Monroe College.
alumni. You know, but that's all right. Just want to know which tribe you're from.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's important. How was school?